मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य मआणीस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words, and actions. May the truths of the scriptures shine forth in my life. May what I learn from the scriptures never forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Let us feel our ego is dissolved in the infinite ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss, like a salt doll dissolving in the ocean. As it is dissolved, all the ego-based sensations and perceptions, they too have vanished. The fictitious division between I and world has vanished. indescribable, profound sense of oneness. It is undivided consciousness, without any divisions of I and mine and yours and so forth. It is also the unbroken continuous experience of ultimate bliss. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us continue with the study of this very special biography of Sri Ramakrishna, describing the spiritual significance of his life, not just the actions, not just the words, but the deep layers of spiritual wisdom that was forming his personality, of which those actions and words were manifestations. So the actions and words were same like our actions and words, but they carried a very different meaning than our similar actions and words. Like Tommy eating and Sri Ramakrishna eating, both are eating and both have maybe very similar food on their plate. And both are eating, putting food in the mouth. Sri Ramakrishna was very special doesn't mean that he was putting food in the nose. He was putting food like Tommy in the mouth. But the difference is there. And that difference is to be held on to. That difference was in the consciousness that when an ordinary person eats, there is the prominence of this subject object awareness. I am the eater, that in the plate is the eaten. Here is the subject, that is the object. And because of this awareness of, say, I and the world, the consciousness, as it were, is fractured in the two pieces, I and the world. And that becomes the cause of bondage and consequent suffering. With Sri Ramakrishna, that was very, very different. So let us start reading this further as how his life was a very different internally, although externally similar, internally very different. And let us start with our regular prayers. तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिदा जनाः. So we are studying the mood or attitude or the play in the form of Guru, Sri Ramakrishna, as the teacher of spiritual enlightenment, going beyond all sufferings thereby. As Swami Vivekananda beautifully describes Sri Ramakrishna as Khandana Bhava Bandhana. That is what we just sang before the beginning of the class. That Khandana Bhava Bandhana. Sri Ramakrishna, the breaker of this bondage. It is this bondage is the bondage of I, separateness, I and the world. That becomes the bondage. We get tied down by our awareness of I. I am so and so. And we get tied to our body and mind. Like one may say that, yes, I am 5 foot 7 inches tall. I weigh so much. I like to eat such and such things. I work in this particular place. This is what I earn every year. And so forth. This awareness is tied to our body and mind. And that keeps on shifting and changing. And that I also keeps on running with it. So this is the cause of bondage. Truly, I am limitless. I am everywhere. And this truth is to be experienced so that we will get release from this bondage. This bondage compels us to grab the objects of what we call world. Let me have this. What is this? Basically, it is the idea that I do not like this bondage. I want to go beyond I and catch the world. Mm. It is. And why is this? Why are there such desires? Desires express this bondage that I don't want. I want freedom. And then the desires will cease. Otherwise, the desires just keep on going on and growing on. There is no cessation or uh, freedom from those till we see that there is no such line of demarcation. Sri Ramakrishna, while living in this body, was aware of this truth that the body and mind, they are the temporary lines. They are not my bondage as such. I can move in and out of that without the slightest problem. So, and what happens with this? Now I am free, otherwise I am confined to this. I am this little body. So, this teaching is being imparted by Sri Ramakrishna, and that is what is called Guru Bhava. Sri Ramakrishna as Guru, and Sri Ramakrishna is telling that as the Guru imparts these teachings, speech is the medium only. Not that the words alone are capable of imparting that wisdom, but the words, as strengthened by that personality, that awareness of Sri Ramakrishna, become capable of imparting wisdom, otherwise not. Like you drive the car, then there is the gas pedal. You press on it, and then the car rushes forward or backward, whatever the gear you have put it in. So the car moves with the gas pedal only when the gas pedal is connected to the engine. If it is not connected to the engine, then the movement of gas pedal will not have any effect on the movement of the car. So if those words are not connected to the divine awareness, then there won't be any impact as such of that on our life. The words will keep on coming out, but will not cause any illumination in the hearts of the students. The illumination is because of the power behind those words. That is the Guru Bhav of Sri Ramakrishna. So, when that is connected, then those words they convey something much more, and then that becomes the tool for the transformation. Sri Ramakrishna was describing, as we saw in the last class, that how therefore a trifling thing somehow connected with the Guru becomes a symbol for the disciples' adoration and worship. It may be something very minor, but the mind goes to the Guru and thus starts receiving the teachings. That happens even in our regular experience, that it is I was, that I have taken some notes of my various previous classes that I had attended from great teachers. So now those notes are kind of cryptic. I have taken them not like our Vishwanath takes, keeps on writing long. It is just maybe a 1 hour class, and I might have filled half a page. Now, but what is the importance of those? Even now, when I read them, the class becomes alive. That class that I was attending, and that becomes alive. And I get transported to that, and I, as it were, start listening to those teachings again with still further enhanced meaning of those very words. So this is how now those a few sentences, they are just symbols, and then that makes the class alive. This I used to follow even in my regular, means not just the spiritual classes, but even when I was studying in schools, colleges, and all that. The notes of those classes, although short, cryptic, and yet the class would become alive. I would be in that class. I would be listening to those words as if the teacher is there teaching me. So it becomes very useful that when we learn to use those things as the active symbols of connecting to the teachership of the Guru, and thus the teachings come to us. When we are connected like that, the words of the Guru start ringing in us without any doubt. So, Sri Ramakrishna is giving this example here, page 456. This is the 31st section of this chapter. The story of Arjuna's devotion to his Guru. Once in Dakshineshwar, a proud yet sincere young devotee, his name given in the footnote, Vaikunthanath Sanyal, was raising objections to what the master was telling him. The master told him 3 or 4 times, but still he continued arguing. The master then gave him a sweet scolding, saying, "What sort of man are you? I am telling you, yet you do not accept my words." Immediately the young man was touched by the master's love, not by master's words, but through those words, master's love was carried. The tonality, the expression, the general demeanor, and the acquaintance with the master, all conveyed through those words that love of the master. And thus, touched by that love, he said, "Of course, I accept whatever you say. It was for the sake of argument that I spoke that way." Delighted, the master said with a smile, "Do you know what true devotion to the Guru is? Whatever the Guru says, the disciple perceives." That because of the now this is a strange phenomena. It is one can certainly have objections and arguments about it, but this is how Sri Ramakrishna narrates it. There is one thing, one level of connection with the Guru, that what the Guru says, even though you do not agree, you think, maybe he is true, and maybe in some respects the Guru in spiritual matters he is wonderful, but in other things why should I believe him? And also in if other things also, spiritual things also, there is a possibility that the Guru is wrong. Why should the Guru be always considered right? I also have the thinking ability. I have the capability to ask questions. I will question the wisdom of Guru in that matter. But what happens when the devotion to the Guru ripens? Then what the Guru says, that the disciple starts not believing as such, but actually perceiving like that. If Guru says, look, this is all God, the disciple also says that this is all God. If the Guru says something, the perception of the student accordingly shifts, changes, and starts seeing like that. That is what happens with deep devotion to the Guru. Whatever the Guru says, the disciple perceives. Arjuna had this kind of devotion. Now, where this incident is, I do not know, in which Mahabharata or what book is this narrated. I am sorry, I don't remember anything reading like this except in this book. So, once while they were riding in a chariot, Krishna said to Arjuna, "Look, friend, what a beautiful flock of pigeons is flying." Seeing it, Arjuna immediately said, "Yes, friend, those pigeons are beautiful." The next moment, Krishna looked again and said, "No, friend, they are not pigeons." Arjuna also looked and said, "That's correct, friend, they are not pigeons." It is Arjuna tried to understand this statement. Arjuna was not a sycophant. Arjuna was no, okay, whatever you say that is right, not type for that type. But the perception changed. The Guru says like this, as it goes inside, that information changes your earlier information, and thus that gets perceived like that. It is, so Sri Ramakrishna mentions here that now try to understand this. Arjuna was intensely devoted to truth. He did not say that just to flatter Krishna or to please him. That was not the way Arjuna said these things. It is he perceived. As Krishna said, so the perception, the vision, the seeing of Arjuna changed accordingly. So it is like this, that when you turn the steering of the car, the wheels also change their direction accordingly. So it is similarly the words of the Guru, as they go in, they bring about that change in the awareness of the disciple. The information changes, and thus you see what the Guru is seeing too. So if the Guru is seeing that they are pigeons, the disciple also sees the pigeons. When the Guru says, no, they are not pigeons, some other birds, the disciple also accordingly sees, oh, they are not pigeon. So this is how the transformation occurs, that whatever the Guru says, through those words, the Guru's understanding gets into the disciple, changes the disciples' other individual earlier understanding gets substituted by the understanding of the Guru. So, this sounds for our modern minds, this sounds very funny. How can that happen? That even if Sri Ramakrishna is telling the truth, will just listening to the words, will that change my perception? If we have that deep devotion, then it will. Then it is so closely and intimately, tightly connected to Sri Ramakrishna's perception that just like the steering wheel and then the wheels of the car, that as this wheel moves, those wheels also will move in accordance with that. So that is that level of discipleship, that level of teachership also, that the deep conviction to the truth and that awareness gets transferred into the disciple. So whatever Guru sees, the disciple sees that, and so they agree. It is not that that Arjuna is whatever I will agree with you just to please Krishna. No, it is the things changed. So this is how. But he had so much faith and respect for the words of Krishna that he actually saw whatever Krishna described. The power of this, it is very difficult to explain this in our ordinary terms. The words, even the language here, Swami Saradananda has made a big, very intense attempt to use the best possible words, but yet those words cannot give a proper picture of what is happening, what is the connection between the Guru and the disciple, so that whatever Guru sees, the disciple also sees. This happens if the disciple is closely connected with the Guru and is absorbing the teacher's teachings. Gradually, we see this effect that the student's understanding undergoes a shift according to what the Guru is describing. So, Guru's understanding gets transmitted to the disciples' understanding, and then both of them, their understanding becomes one and the same. It is, in general, this is the way the teachers impart teaching, that when the student is learning from a teacher, and if the teacher has nothing more than what the student knows, then there is nothing for the student also to learn because the knowledge of the teacher is same as the knowledge of the student. But if the teacher has something different, something more than what the student knows, now the teacher's words become carriers of that something different that the teacher knows, but student does not know. Now those words, as they carry the message inside, then that creates a change in the understanding of the student. And that is what happens. For example, if somebody is, say, explaining to me a certain truth, say, of regular, how one goes from here to say uh, Long Island, from this small Rhode Island to Long Island, how one goes. Now I may have one understanding, but the one who has gone there many times knows that how to go. And then that person says, okay, you can go by a train. Oh, does the train go there? Oh, yes, you can go by train. You can go and drive by road or there. You can drive a little bit and you may be able to take a ferry to go to the Long Island. Now, I suppose for a person who does not know any of these things accepts these words. And now the understanding has changed. If that person accepts these words, then that person also knows that from Rhode Island you can go to Long Island in these different ways. So, exactly like that, it happens uh, in the different way, when the truth is very deep, then it takes long time before these layers of obstacles and ignorance they are penetrated. Till then, you believe the words of the Guru, you take them in, but then it takes some time before they break through this hard shell of ignorance. Till then, now they keep on acting on it, they keep on working on it, and then the transformation gradually occurs. And then you remember, oh, what the teacher had told. Now I see it happening. Now I see that the teacher was, after all, right. Although I did not agree at that time, but the teacher was right. My understanding changed accordingly into that. So, if one is sticking to the ego and is not letting the understanding seep in, then it will not get anywhere. That is, the student will not have the transformation. But if the student lets those words get in, now there should be this uh, readiness on the part of the student to give up the ego. That, well, this teacher is telling, let me now adjust or see what my understanding is. And the teacher certainly knows better than I know. That is why I have gone to the teacher. Now let me see how that teaching can get assimilated with what I understand, and thus the change comes. This is a very subtle process that goes on at great depth. And when that happens, then the transformation in the awareness takes place. And then that starts manifesting in the behavior of the student too. So, at one level, then the student and the teacher then become one. Because whatever the teacher is seeing, the student is also seeing the same thing. So, then the teacher and the student relationship in that sense ends, because now the student and teacher, they have become same, both have now same knowledge. Like you pour that water from the higher level to the pot at the lower level. Now when the level of both pots come to the same, then now the flow does not happen. So the flow stops there. So similarly it happens when the knowledge of the teacher and the knowledge of the student come together. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we read a very nice incident Sri Ramakrishna describes that Shuka goes to Janaka for teaching, for learning. And Janaka said, yeah, well, I can give you the knowledge of Brahman, I will give you. But you, for teaching me, you have to give some honorarium, some tuition fees first. A tuition fee has to be given. Now the student said, fine, I will give you, first give me the teachings and then I will give you the fees. And Janaka said, no, that doesn't work. Why? It is simple, isn't it? Don't you believe me? Don't you? That is not the question. He said that after the teaching is given, this relation is, they both come to the same level. Now who is to give the honorarium or fees? There is nobody to give the fees. So this is how when the knowledge enters, the disciple and the teacher, they come at the same level. So this is how the connection between the two is. And this actually works in this way. So Sri Ramakrishna further describes according to, this is Swami Saradananda's description. According to the scriptures, a true guru is one who is capable of removing the darkness of ignorance. That is the etymology of this word guru. So, it is, we have ascertained that the guru is endowed with this special divine power. Now it must be admitted that gurus are not many but one. Especially when it comes to spiritual teachings, even in regular secular teachings, we may get the wisdom from the person A or B or C, but it is actually coming from the same one source. It is, you are getting, for example, water. You may take water from this tap, that faucet, or from whatever. So, but it is all coming from the same situate reservoir, I think. All water we are getting is from that reservoir. So, that is the source. Which faucet you use, well, doesn't matter as such. You have to go to a faucet, that is true. But which faucet you go to does not matter as long as you receive water from that, as long as that faucet is connected to the source of water. If it is not connected, then it will not work. It is like when some plumbing repair was going on, so we closed the main valve. Now if you go to any of those faucets, no water will come because there is no connection. It is not that the faucet as such is bad, but it is not connected. So going to that faucet will not bring us water. So when a particular medium like a human being who is connected to that source, then through that human being you get the wisdom. But It is whatever may be the particular connector, it really does not matter. You get the same water. The power of the Guru is same. That Sri Ramakrishna said many times, therefore Satchidananda alone is the Guru. It is the Guru is God. God's knowledge comes from God, and various human beings can become just the secondary channels for bringing that wisdom to us. It is therefore, he gives this example. Although the power of God is manifest in different vessels or bodies, your Guru and my Guru are not different. The power they share is the same. Now, here another quick idea is going to be discussed. Very important idea, very sublime, and one must keep this in mind, that each of us has this power of Guru playing in each of us. Even whether you want or you don't want, whether you are giving specially an advice to somebody or not, whether you are giving lectures or not, whether somebody calls you a guru or not, the power of Guru is in everyone, manifesting in various ways. Do you understand it, Subhasish? That power of Guru is in every being, because every being can teach or is teaching, may not be directly by giving advice, but by behavior. It may not be the right teaching, it may be wrong teaching, but everybody is emanating that teachership. Even like somebody is, saw that it is, and I read in newspaper that somebody committed a crime. How did he commit that crime? He saw its demonstration, how that bomb is to be made on YouTube. So he got the teaching. Now somebody there posted this. Now that teachership of that person became manifest there. How to make a bomb. And thus this person learned from that and used it in a heinous way. So this is how they teach. Everybody is a teacher, whether we know it or we don't know it. Everybody is a student, everybody is a teacher. And the power of that God, thus in the right way or in a distorted way, is manifesting in everyone. That is why everyone needs to be very cautious, that it is teaching, it is sending a message, it is sending something to others that can affect the life of others. In most of us, because we do not get in close contact with others, or people are not looking at it with that kind of adoration, the teachership is not that much expressed, because we are not so connected. It is there, but it doesn't matter, because not there is not a particular disciple that is learning it from me. But those who are connected with many people, now their behavior is closely observed. And if they are held in high esteem and adoration, it affects so many people seeing that. And therefore, the celebrity, see those players, the sports persons, now they become celebrities because of their teaching, that not teaching skills, their sportsman skills are what make them celebrity. They are wonderful sports persons, but they are told, taught, warned that look, your not only skill in sports, but your behavior also is getting observed. And that is also getting therefore imitated. That can, so inadvertently you may send a wrong message, a wrong teaching, and therefore there are penal actions if somebody does not behave right. There's nothing wrong with the play of that person, but in the view of the public, that person acts in a somewhat immoral or indisciplined way. It sends a wrong signal, becomes a wrong message sent, becomes a teacher of these certain immoral or unethical or indisciplined actions. Because everybody, that person may say that no, I was not sending this signal. Unconsciously our behavior sends signals, and therefore each of us has a responsibility that let us become an instrument that is sending the signal of God, rather than the signal of some negative principles. So instead of sending the negative vibes, let us send the positive vibes. Teachership is not optional. We all are teachers. When we walk, we teach. When we eat, we teach. When we talk to people, we teach. Without knowing, the teaching is happening. And learning also is happening. Whether you want to learn or not, inadvertently the learning also is happening. Only those things which are not good, they get learned faster. That the problem is that, they get learned faster. But the right teachings do not get learned that fast. So that requires deliberate effort. So it is told here that the power, the story of Ekalavya from Mahabharata illustrates this. When Drona refused to accept him as disciple, Ekalavya practiced archery before the clay image of Drona, whom he regarded as his teacher, and became an expert archer. Now, for that Ekala, that story is a very illuminating story, that the teacher had refused to give him that training. But he wanted. Now, if the teacher himself is not giving, let me make a teacher. So he made a clay image of that teacher Dronacharya. And then, because of his devotion, that became a real teacher for him. And learned all the archery from that same Dronacharya, the teacher. But not the human image, but the clay image. It is possible, if the devotion is of that level, then you will learn from the clay image also. The clay image will start talking to you, start instructing you. That is why people in front of clay image or in front of some symbol, they pray and they receive the answers if there is devotion. It is for those who don't have devotion, eh, oh, what is in that stone image? That doesn't do anything. That cannot teach us. Well, no. If you have devotion, then it is not a clay image for you. It has the potential to teach you. That is why the incident after this, when a time came when this Ekalavya uh, expressed his wisdom, his skills in archery, that how expert he had become, more expert than even the formal regular students learning from this image of the teacher, not made of clay but of flesh, bones, blood, and so forth. It's an image. It is when we say I am this, it is we are referring to an image, not made of clay but blood, bones, and all that. It is an image basically, no different from clay image in principle. It has some robotics attached to it, that's it. And so he became an expert archer by using that image. And so when his tremendous skills were observed by Guru Dronacharya, he asked, "Hey, who taught you? Where did you learn this? Who taught you?" He said, "You taught me. I learned it from you. Without my permission and without giving me the fees? Okay, Guru, I will give you the fees." If the Guru has not taught, why would this student say like that? The student says, "Yes, I learned from you. You can ask whatever fees is right for this." And the Guru did not want him to become an expert archer. And so he said, "Give me the thumb of your right hand so that you will not be able to shoot arrows." And he gave. Had he not considered Drona to be his teacher, why would he give? Why would Drona ask for it? And why would he give either? So, it is this, he knew that I learned from him. I owe him the fees, the Guru Dakshina, the honorarium given with great respect. So, he understood that it is he has to give it, because he considered him as his teacher, and by considering him as his teacher, he learnt all the archery. So this is how it works, that yes, you learn from the teacher. Now the teacher can be a clay image of the Guru, that can be a very good teacher. So it is a well established fact that although this fact seems reasonable, one must undertake spiritual practices in order to fully comprehend it. That the knowledge comes from the Guru, but you have to undertake spiritual practices to actually get it. Spiritual practices means you know that you will get water from that faucet. But you have to go to the faucet, you have to open the faucet, thus you will get it. That is the spiritual practice. And get those teachings by opening the faucet. Go to the faucet, open the faucet, collect those teachings, the faucet, water from the faucet in a proper receptacle. So that is what the sadhana means. What the teacher says has to be collected. We shall continue the discussion later. Today's time is over, but this is a very important discussion about the nature of teachership, that how the transformation through the teachership and the studentship comes. When they get connected, then the knowledge comes. Swami Vivekananda speaks about it in this chapter on Guru in Bhakti Yoga book. So we shall try to see these things further next Tuesday. So today we will meditate for half a minute, and then in case if you have questions, feel free to ask. Yes, please. Yes, Charlie.
How can you tell if a person or an image is connected to the source? So, like with the faucet, it's obvious the water comes out.
Yeah.
How do you tell about a spiritual?
Correct. The example you gave itself is very explanatory. How do you know the water is that faucet is connected to the source? Because you see the water coming, others are taking water from there, others are drinking water from there, and you also get the experience of it. So, when you see such a person and where you get the taste of that wisdom, that knowledge, you know that there is this teachership. It is otherwise, there is no way to know that if you are thirsty, if you need water, then you go to the faucet. You try the faucet, whether it brings water or not. So, when you are thirsty for that wisdom, you go to the teacher. You try, you approach first, see whether the water can be had from there, the teaching can be had from there, and then you understand how to open the that uh, wisdom, that faucet of wisdom, how to open that and get wisdom. One gradually learns those things. So this is how one finds it out. Yes. Yeah. Yes, a very good question. That in fact, this kind of question is asked by so many when they read this incident, that uh, that if suppose an object, say, is of one color, say green, and the Guru says that it is blue, now what the disciple would, his that disciple's understanding will change to blue. But will that object change to blue? Others will be still seeing it green, and so it will create that the problem that it is green, but the Guru is saying blue, and because the Guru is saying blue, I also am saying it blue. My perception has changed. Now, what is blue and green? That is the information. It is, there is nothing like an object being blue or green. It is how one perceives it. Accordingly, that is blue or green, depending on the various situations, conditions, our perceptions differ. It is, I found many when they are driving and the sun is right coming on their eyes, they are not able to see the street light colors, whether it is green or red. It is confusing. It is now that light, whether it is green or red, who knows? It is what you see. So, our seeing and calling it that it is blue or green or red, it is not the thing, but it is perception. Now, if many people have one perception, then that is taken as standard. And if somebody is perceiving differently, that is considered not right. The person's brain is deranged. That is why all we are seeing is this green, and this buffalo is saying blue. But the disciple is not following the multitude. Disciple is following the teacher. So the teacher's understanding becomes the standard one for him, for the disciple, and changes accordingly. If your example, if it is applied, that, well, how many people see that God is the reality, everything is God. The names and forms are passing show. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, Brahman alone is real. The world is unreal. How many see this? Almost nobody. It is rather, most people would say that Jagat Satyam Brahma Mithya. So now, whether you go by what the popular saying is or what the Guru is saying, that is how, if the Guru says, no, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, even after overwhelming majority is saying that no, no, Jagat Satyam, Brahma Mithya, will you go by that? That is the question. It is, a thing doesn't have the characteristic of its own as such. It is the perception. The instrument of perception gives it colors, taste, sounds. If they change, then those perceptions also change. It is for a bat, the bats, they have these sound signals so strong that they have a very different perception of the world, without probably ever using what we call visual. Their audible sense is so powerful. So they see the world differently. Not that the things have become different, but because of their perception, instruments of perception are different. Now these instruments of perception, when they are following a guru, those change according to how the guru is seeing. These instruments also therefore undergo a transformation in accordance with that. It is not a very common phenomena, because very few are connected to the Guru at that deep level and so intimately. But when it is, it changes. Yeah, it is therefore, you see, when a person is considered very good by somebody whom you love, with whom you have that kind of close connection, then because of that other person, you also will see that person is good because he says it is good. So the perceptions get guided by how deep your connection is with the Guru. So, because a thing as such doesn't have any characteristics as objective characteristics, it is the perception. That is the, yeah. And majority perception, then it is characteristic. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. Let me remind again about the spiritual retreat on Saturday the 15th, and one needs to register for that. If you want to join the retreat, please register. And tomorrow is the last day for concessional registration. So, you can take the benefit of that. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.